Hello, how are you?
I'm so good. How are you?
Good.
Yeah, good. So good to see your face.
Yeah, it's good to catch up too.
Yeah, totally. You might
Yeah.
hear I have some baby chicks in the background, so you may hear a little bit of fluttering and a little bit of fighting because they're about 10 days old now.
Well, same thing over here. Pretty busy neighborhood.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yes.
Oh,
Let
so
me go
good to
ahead
see
and
you.
just.
So
Yes.
this is Latoya, everybody, and I've been so excited about this one, Latoya. It's been something that's been in the back of my mind for so long now because I just want to hear what you've been downloading, what your guides have been holding for you about the New Earth children and the New Earth family, and just this whole experience that we're in right now where people are awakening to their intuition, specifically mothers, and then things seem to just kind of shift after that. And what is that shift and where can we go with it? How can we lean into it and see it as a positive move in the right direction?
Yes, we have all that information right here on
So
my little
excited.
clipboard. Um, First, let me introduce myself. I am Latoya. I am the founder of Latoya Does Readings, and I'm a mother to two beautiful boys. I'm a wife to a husband who is slowly awakening and evolving. I feel like he says a lot of like logical things, but like we're all saying the same thing, but it's just like expanding. He's expanding. Um, and we're all expanding together as a family. I like to refer to myself as a intuitive mother, intuitive guide, here to help moms find their magic and help intuitive children. So we're building out these family programs to do so. And so do we want to get started on like how do you want to get started with this? Because there's like
Whatever feels
more
the
to
most
share.
important to you.
Okay. So when we are talking about the New Earth children and the New Earth families, I just want to like chunk it. I like because I've the way I see it all unfolding is through like groups of timing, which is in the years or the spans of the years. And I want to just focus on the 2019 to 2023, which is where we are in right now, which is I call it the mass awakening phase in the like a deeper understanding and like more higher consciousness coming through to just build on the spiritual foundation which our previous spiritual leaders had already laid for us, and now the newer consciousness in um like the next level of that information is coming in now, right? With the awakening, mass awakenings, as well as like the deeper awakenings when it comes to our mamas who are awakening now. And women like you and I who are venturing down this journey of intuitive motherhood or intuitive, whatever you want to call it. But I just, it's an expansion of our consciousness, an evolution of our consciousness, and we're women like you and I are following that path and leading with our hearts and allowing this to be a path that's paved out for our soon to be awakening mothers or newer women who are on the journey or just beginning the journey of awakening, and just showing another way of doing things, a new way of doing things, in incorporating what your intuitive hits are coming through as another way of living, basically.
Mm.
So I just have a whole bunch of bullet points here, and I just want to just focus on the 2019 to 2023 period. So what we define, or what I define New Earth as, is just a shift in consciousness. And it's created through the collective shift of and and it's again, it's the higher consciousness coming is that's what's the new earth. We are creating that new earth through the higher consciousness that is we are shifting through. And our children are helping to guide that and helping to bring that higher guidance in. And it like it's the shift that is happening in waves. And what I really, and I think you could speak to this too, and what you are receiving as well, is that like our new earth children are not, I what I always see is that they are a more highly evolved souls, whereas like it's not just their beings that like, or the body that is different, it's like their souls are different. Their souls are coming from a higher source. Yeah. Their DNA strands are more activated than our DNA strands were coming in. And the reason for this is because, again, we as a human civilization have reached a level in our consciousness where we are ready for it. So it's an evolution. We are just ready for welcoming these new earth children and welcoming in this new higher consciousness and this higher pieces of information that's coming for us to get us ready for the other waves of evolution that we will be shifting through and moving through. And what we are really looking at is like the newer systems, the newer jobs that are being created through these children and through the higher consciousness that is coming through. And deeper understanding and just a new way of being. And that is what the new earth is the change in the systems, the change in our community, in our systems, in the shifts of our human beings coming through. And that's what the basis of what is happening going on right now. Do you want to add anything to that? Do you have any other?
I love that. So when you were referring to systems, what are you seeing specifically? What does that look like?
So it's what I'm seeing and what I'm noticing is like more is systems across the board. But mainly it's the systems in which our children are more involved in. These are your family systems. These are your education systems. And even within the workforce system, and the how do I put this? The food, even like they're helping to shift our food supply in the way that we nurture our bodies, because their bodies are more sensitive than ours. Their energetic bodies have different coatings in them, which create the shifts in what used to work for our energetic bodies and the way we nurture our bodies is no longer going to be able to sustain these new earth children. So those are the main, like the systems that I'm seeing, but because I'm a public school teacher, so I'm seeing a lot of it in the education system, and it's not as apparent to eyes that are not as like keen to look for it or aware of it as much. But the systems are being changed through the children in their the way they respond to the curriculums and the way that they respond to the styles of teaching from the adults that are in the buildings teaching, like from the teachers, right? And just their behaviors. We're having to adjust to more sensitive children in having to really reevaluate our curriculum to make it more accommodating for what these children need in order to survive out in the real world, and just trying to make the changes and evolving to a more holistic way of viewing the children, of viewing the child. But when you are in a such as like a public school system, it's slow changes, but there are changes, right? But again, those slow changes also have an impact because those slow changes create frustration within the home, within the family structure, and then you pull your children out, and then you're creating other ways, or alternative ways of teaching your children, whether that be homeschooling, putting them in a different private school setting, the settings that are just speaking to you and what resonates to you, but also resonates to the child's soul, what the child's soul responds to. So this slow pace of the public education system is also branching out these alternative ways of schooling and teaching these New Earth children. So not all New Earth children are meant for homeschool. Not all New Earth children are meant for public school. Not all are meant for private school. It really is you have to look at an individual level and really sense into what your child's soul is asking for. And what that takes is an understanding and a trust in your own intuition as their mother, and really looking for those signs of how their soul is speaking to you as their mother, and going based off of that. And when I was trying to really fine tune like one single message that would be most valuable to our moms, is what came through was to like creating the New Earth family is very individualized to what's going to be to what you view as New Earth or intuitive motherhood, and very specific to you as a mom, and you as and your children as a soul, right? So do not look at, let's just say, do not look to the way that Annika is moving through her motherhood journey. Do not look at the way that I'm moving through my motherhood journey. Look at what your family needs, what your whole family needs as a whole, like the collective consciousness of your family, but also you as a mother, but each individual child's soul as well, and what they need, and try to find that happy middle ground that is that resonates most with the whole family, right? The whole family unit. And what that speaks to is trusting yourself and trusting that you know what is, or or you're able to pick up on these signs that your children are giving to you, or your intuitive hits that are coming through, or your downloads, that you're able to guide your family along the path that they need. And that's going to be most aligned for you, your children, and your family. That is like the main thing, because oftentimes when we are forging that new path, and that new path is New Earth, right? We don't have a blueprint to follow, because we're creating that new path. And when we're on that, we from programming and from conditioning and from the way that we grew up, we tend to look outside of ourselves and look at what other people are doing. But it's like the true, like you have to look within, and really define your path. Not that you can't scan the scene of like how people are doing, but you have to trust that you know what you need to do for your family. Um, and just really trust yourself.
I love that. What are
Yeah.
some of your tips for a mama who's kind of just coming into her intuition or learning how to trust that intuitive hit with her children? What does that feel like? How do you explain it to a mother?
Um, so the biggest tip for new moms that are moving along this intuitive motherhood journey, or just moving along their own journey of understanding their own intuition, is to really is to slow down and know that it's not like a race, but it's a practice in slowing down and making sure that you are taking each step by step, and not rushing to the finish line, or rushing to the point where you are fully healed or in alignment, because it's a constant cycle that we go through.
Mhm.
And the other biggest tip is get your practice in meditating, slowing down and focusing your energy, and in giving yourself that space to do that, to slow down and to meditate and to really receive what is coming, the information that's coming to you. Um, that's like the first thing. It's like meditation, practice, and don't be afraid to um define things for yourself,
Mm,
because
mhm,
oftentimes we look at maybe a mother who's been on their intuitive motherhood journey longer, 3 years or so, or 20 years or so, and we tend to look as if they have it all down pat and that they are the expert, or they know more than you, so you should be doing it their way, and the way that they experience it is the way that you have to experience it, and that's not the way intuition works.
mhm,
Intuition is very individualized, um, to the soul. So the way that I receive is completely different from the next soul, right? And how I receive one visualization, let's just say an apple, what I view that apple as, or that symbol as, is unique to me and is unique to
mhm,
my intuitive journey, where and vice versa is unique to you as well. So don't
mhm,
be afraid to like take pieces of the information that resonate most with you, but also switch it into a definition that's most um relatable to you in your life.
mm,
Um, I remember when I was taking soul teacher, and I would just be like, I would go through the lessons, and each time I would go through the lessons, I would have my spirit guide be in my ear and be saying, like, you could take that information that you are receiving, but that's not how you are going to be moving through, or how you're going to take that process. You have
so
to just take what resonates, but
mhm,
also make it your own, and make the process more conducive for you and your lifestyle. And that's what I would share too. Is like, don't be afraid to do that. Just it's you again, it's your intuition is your intuition, and you make it work the way that it needs to work for you.
mhm. I love
And I
that.
wish that that was shared with me. I mean, it was shared with me through my spirit guides, but like for me, like I needed the permission outside of me to do that.
Totally. Yes.
And that was also probably meant to be that way because I needed to trust my intuition and trusting like my spirit guides are my spirit guides and they're here to help me on my journey and move me along my aligned path. Sorry. And that to just trust, but just hearing them. So I'm giving you the permission to really just make it your own, and that you don't have to take what one spiritual leader that has 1 million followers on Instagram says as the end all be all.
Definitely. Yes,
Yeah.
Latoya, it's so good. It reminds me of something I always say too is when you do receive messages or downloads and you're being shown things or you're experiencing things, you have a feeling, you're experiencing that through your own life experience. So the way that your
Mm-hmm.
team will talk to you or the way that you receive messages and is in a way that your human form can relate to it. So everybody's human form this life has been different for each of us. So it's very, very unique to each of us. So
Mm-hmm.
back to that apple thing, an apple to you might mean teacher, an apple to me might mean nutrition. And so it's
Mm-hmm.
different for each person as they receive messages. So I think that's such a beautiful thing to touch on, Latoya.
Yes. Yes. And so those are the three things for the moms to do. But if you want to like take it like a step up, right? The higher notch to it is to how do I make sure that you are again making that time to do the meditations, but also when you are with the meditations or receiving and you're getting the information, that you're journaling it down and making sure that you're really taking the time to integrate the information that is coming through, because oftentimes what I see is um like the messages come through. This happens with me too. It's like the messages come through and you think that you need to do what that message has told you. Let's just say the message was to go to the mall, right? But maybe that message wasn't for you to go to the mall right this second. Maybe it was a message for you to go to the mall, but go to the mall at another time that is more conducive for you, right? Like that's like a very like human way or 3D way of like example. But just like allow the messages to integrate within, and the way of doing that is through journaling. I found journaling it down and then going back to it, right? Rereading it to allow it to really like the messages and the vibration and the frequency to really settle in your body. Our body is a big intuitive tool as well, that we quite often overlook. um, and the way to really listen to your children's soul is to observe them. Observe them in play, observe their words that they say, how they interact with you, but also how they interact with the world. Within that observation, you're able to see the gentleness of your child. You are also able to see maybe their temperaments. And that really speaks to that's like their subtle ways that their souls come through, right? Um, also to so observation, um, also having them like having that those long talks with them in that conversation, like really think about what they are saying, because they also have a lot of wisdom that they share with us. And so observe, have those conversations and really take in those words and those pieces of wisdom that they share with you. But if you are practicing your meditation, you can also practice bringing in your child's energy, your child's soul essence into the meditation with you, and seeing what their energy wants to say or share with you. That's also a great practice as well. And don't give up when you are practicing with your practicing meditation, because it can get frustrating, but don't give up.
I love that. That's a good reminder, a really good reminder.
Yeah.
I always say too, for moms when they're getting messages or guidance for their children, for me it feels really urgent, or it's almost kind of like an alarm. It's like this is something you should be paying attention to. It's like a flag. And it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad thing, but it just means like this is something that you should be curious about and that you should start leaning into to kind of discover what is behind it. What more is there to learn behind this little flag or this? And sometimes it's like behavioral, or sometimes they'll say something and it's one single word. And if it resonates with you, and that resonation will almost create you to pause, and then you'll have to think about it a little bit more. And as moms in that moment, it's not always the best time to start like leaning into that, but just kind of save that for later. And if you do have time to meditate, that's when you'd bring that word in or bring that emotion in, and then start to replay that moment. And then you can start to also kind of download any more messages that are behind that resonation that time.
Yes. And also taking like objects of your children, like toys or even a picture, can also help with the meditation with bringing their energy forward. And allowing them to speak to you, or speak their soul to come out and show you and give guidance in what needs to be shared with you as mom or even dad.
Yes, definitely. Love that,
Mhm.
Latoya. So tell me a little bit, what are you seeing for these newer children? What do they look like? How are they acting? How are they different than previous children's souls?
Um, they are these souls are like really coming from all over the galaxy. Like they're not coming from just one planet or one dimension. They're really coming from all over the galaxy, and some of them are newer star seeds that we don't even have a name for.
Mhm.
And so again, their souls are more of the highly evolved souls. So when I say highly evolved souls, is that they have more of they come in remembering. They have more of a choice of, what I see is that they have more of a choice of whether they come in with the veil or not, right? Whether they have more, and whereas before the souls were coming in there, they had the veil, right? That means
Right.
we forgot, we when we agreed to come to earth, we agreed to forget our or to forget our true authentic self, right? Whereas our souls now um are remembering and coming in with an understanding of their past lives, of understanding of who they are as a soul, an understanding of things that we are just now coming to the awareness of in our age of like 30 years old, but they're coming in with it, right? And they'll be sharing more of it with their parents. I'm also like, their eyes are like, and it's not just their blue, like a lot of them have blue eyes, a lot of them have the lighter eye color, or like these unique colors to them. But it's not just the color of their eyes, it's the when you stare into their eyes, it's so dreamy. It's like a portal. It's like you're drawn into them. It's like instant love is being shot through from their eyes into like your soul. So when you are finding yourself, like I see it even when I'm like looking at other like strange children, like strangers,
Yes.
right? In the
Mm-hmm.
street, and children, I just look at their eyes, I'm just like, they're so like, oh, and it kind of brings tears to your eyes because it's love. And it brings warmth in your body. That's how you know that that's like a new earth child.
Mm.
um they have also, again, they have sensitive diets
Mhm.
that need to be created. And it's around like, what I'm seeing is like a frequency diet. um and I don't know how to like explain it more, but it's definitely foods from the earth, foods that are of high vibration that we say, but it's a different way of of consuming it within the energetic body, and how it's like received in the energetic body, because there's an energy to the food, and that food gives life to their energy, and vice versa. um and this frequency diet will start to like develop as we continue receiving these higher consciousness information.
Mhm.
um there's they will what I'm finding more too is that they have more like affinity to crystals in different healing modalities.
Yeah.
um so we are going like straight healers with their hands and just touching, and even through like, again, with their gaze and their eyes, they could look and heal that way. So
Mhm.
they're going to be bringing forward um different energetic healing modalities as well, besides Reiki, and like, because there's shifts within their energetic body is going to create a need for a different modality, a different way of healing that high frequency body.
Right.
So very much so into like the energetics of healing. But also there's not a lot of people share about the other end of the new earth children coming in the new earth way of being, right? Because we're shifting out of the 3D to the 4D, 5D, and this is the shift that we are seeing, right? So our children, as they are coming forward, the new earth children that are coming forward, they're coming to a shifting society, but not fully shift society, right? We're
Mhm.
all awakening to it, and it's slowly awakening. So we are still having some of the 3D density thinking, right? So what I have seen in my readings and in my sessions is that there's a con side to our children, like the new earth children coming through, right? And that side is that the more that they come in and they start to share more of, like, let's just say, their past lives, and they start to share the past lives of like galactic wars, right?
Right.
We are still, again, in that 3D sense of thinking as a consciousness, but also like as like a large portion of our society. when you when we have more of that and less understanding of the woo woo and the higher consciousness,
Yeah.
you're going to have more diagnosis of psychiatric thing, like
Mhm.
psychiatric diagnoses, depression diagnoses, which is why it's very important that we learn how to advocate for our children now, stand in our truth as a parent now, um and give our children the access, the words, the awareness to activate for the to I'm sorry to advocate for themselves as well.
Mm.
Because what I'm seeing is like, it's you'll have more of those diagnoses is happening where instead of like the veil, because the veil is what held us back, but we're going to have like the collective consciousness in a way create conditions and limiting beliefs or like different programs for try to keep these children contained. So that's what we're going to see more of in as our as the alpha generation starts to grow and develop more as well and start to share more of their gifts.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the main reason why they are choosing to reincarnate with parents who are already on their journey or like contracted to awaken with them being brought into the earth, because they'll have less of a chance of being encased in that I'm just gonna call it like a container that will try to like hold these children back from delivering their wisdom, delivering their gifts to the world, and delivering the expansion to the world in their medicine. So that's what I'm seeing as like a way to like hold them back. So it's not like, so these are things that we need to keep in our awareness. And like, as we see these things happening, to speak up, right? And advocate more for our children.
In the public school system, are you seeing more parents that are kind of advocating for their children, or advocating for a different way? Or are you seeing that the kids are kind of taking this into their own hands and they're pushing a new way?
They're pushing a new way because our children, the alpha generation, is not quite in like deep into the schools yet. But Gen Z has been doing a lot of the advocating for themselves and speaking up for themselves. But we're also are starting to see like frustrated teachers starting to advocate more, not only for themselves, but also for the children. We've always been advocating for the children, but it's more of an emphasis on like, you know what, it's either you're going to listen to us or you're going to see mass exodus happening, and which is what we've seen for the last couple of years. And that's how we are creating the shifts in the systems as well, as we have those disruptions are the way of creating new opportunities as well, and shifting and changing in the public school system. But we are also seeing more parents speaking up, but it's also again tied to the parents' own awakening as well. So the more that you move along your awakening journey, the more that you start to trust yourself and expand in your heart space and really walk down your true authentic path into who you and move towards your authentic self as a soul, the more empowered you will be to really advocate for you, your family, but also not only for you and your family, but as a society, as a civilization, which effectively will create that change.
I love that, Latoya. I do. I think that really speaks to, the conversation that we're having now, because it's as simple as the gathering of wisdom that you and I are sharing in this moment, and then sharing it with other people, that it starts to touch them and resonate with them. And the light just continues to grow from there. And then also giving mothers permission to really dive deep within and to trust themselves again is a part of this huge awakening too, because we're really learning how to reclaim our magic by trusting our intuitions again. And we're healing those witch wounds, and we're, learning how to find confidence in our own self-beliefs, and letting go of those limiting beliefs around self-worth, and shedding the thousands of years of oppression that women have experienced.
Mm-hmm. And the key word is again. It's already within us. We just have to activate it. It's been covered with conditioning, programming, different systems that just did not work for us, but we could reveal it at each layer that we move through our awakening and open that box. And you're not only paving the way for your children, but you're paving the way for your children's children, and so on. So like these souls will be forever thankful for you moving along your journey and moving along your path and doing the work that your soul really contracted to do in this lifetime.
Yes, I love that, Latoya. It's a term, cycle breaker, comes to mind when we talk about that, because a lot of this is in our like ancestral lineage, or it's familial, and we'll have issues on our maternal side or on our paternal side, and all of it really comes down to this moment in time. And if we feel like a lot of is riding on our shoulders right now, it's kind of because it is. We in this generation at 30 years old are awakening, but we're also being called to do things that we've never had to do, and nobody before us has ever had to do. And so we're stepping out of this box, and we're just like shattering all of the glass. That's scary as hell. It hurts, it's lonely, it's painful, but all of this hardship that we're experiencing now, by breaking through those boundaries and reclaiming our magic, is it's paving a better world ahead forever. So this
Which
hard
is the
work,
new earth.
exactly. Thank
That's
you.
the new
Yes,
earth that we're
Latoya.
creating.
Yes,
And
exactly.
on that note, with the cycle breakers, I just also want to put like a little caveat to this whole understanding of everything, is that we also have to understand and be aware that we do have mothers of color who will be shifting through their awakening a bit different because of the nuances and the experiences that, especially in America, in the United
Right.
States, in the way that throughout history, the experiences of a Black mother, a Latina mother, a Asian mother has been very different and nuanced for generations. And we hold that within our soul, and we hold that within our DNA, and we carry that through us. So we have to, those of us who are moving along this journey have to be mindful of that. Those of us who are coaches to women of color, those of us who are conducting readings for women of color, those of us who are just finding ourselves being like a leader in a way to mothers of color, have to be mindful of the words that we use and how we deliver the wisdom that's needed, because we move through it differently. And it's not to say that it's you won't ever be able to move through it faster. It's just different. So there's a different way of it's not going to be the same as the next non-colored mother, because again, the generations of different ways that we were parented and the way that we were raised, and also like the different way that we experience spirituality as well. So we have to be mindful of that when we are coaching and teaching and sharing the wisdom as well. And I can't really, I've been trying to like put it all into like one word of the way the shift is. And I want to, it's different wounds, it's different traumas. In different conditioning and programming that we've experienced. And we may have not experienced it firsthand ourselves, but we carry it within us from our mother, our mother's mother, their mother's mother. It's there. So that's the other way of just, again, it's just that understanding. I'm like learning more and more as I continue to move along my journey. And I see it. So I just want to just point that out as well. Like you can't, if you're a mother of color, it's just very important to understand that your way that you are moving through it may be different, can be different, and do not and give yourself for that grace. Give yourself grace for that difference as well.
Oh, yeah. Can you give us some examples of how you've experienced that in your life? Obviously, as a mother of color, I'm not, so I can't relate to that, and I'm not experiencing that myself. So I would love to hear some of your experiences in that.
So what I'm just gonna go based off of like what I've been seeing. So my soul has experienced my soul and my the women in my family have experienced slavery, and the way that that trauma has played a role in the way that we parent, but also the way that we view motherhood, is different, right? There, and the key word here that we've been, I want it conditioned to survive. Haven't been really given the opportunities to thrive. So very much of the way that we are taught to parent our young ones is through survival mechanisms. And that survival mechanisms is very controlling. It's controlling. And it's limiting to our children's souls, but it's not limiting in where we're doing it purposely, but it's out of protection, out of survival, because that's the way we were taught. We need to know, or we need to be safe in our capitalistic society, in our American society, right? That was built on racism. And so survival is very much a part of that. And we see like also, I'm trying to like put it in a, like the fears are felt deeper too. Like the fears of, and the conditioning from our parents of like what safety really is, right? Safety is not being big and being out there, right? Safety is being small. So we are constantly saying and giving the aspect and sharing to women like it's okay to be seen, it's okay to be heard. You deserve to be seen, you deserve to be heard. But for centuries we've been taught to be small because that's the way we survive. So for us, for some of us, it's a lot harder for us to break out of that shell to be seen because it's so encased in us to protect and to survive, right? That's one beautiful way of explaining like those concepts. It's like it's a little bit harder of a to break those shackles of
Mhm.
like manifestation is easy, right? And the way that one manifests, it could just be the thought of it, or what we define as an easy life or rest, right? It's harder for us to come to the understanding of what rest really means for us
Mhm.
when that was never really given to us and never really given to our ancestors, right? So we have to, it wasn't given to our ancestors, so that wasn't passed down to us, right? So it's a little bit harder for us to really pull from the energy of what ease and rest means for us because it wasn't afforded to us. Money is a big one too, and access to money and what money brings to us. One of my things, one of like in my family, worry, right?
Mhm.
We as mothers worry a lot, and this is across no matter what generation or race you are, right? But when you have deep within your roots, deep within your genetics, um, fear, deep fear,
Mhm.
um, that you can't even explain. Um, and you can't even like even if again I never experienced slavery, but my
Mhm.
soul has, and I know what it feels like because my soul and my ancestors have, and I've seen it through my dreams, I've seen it through my past lives. um so like those are things that we need to be mindful of, and I'm speaking more on the African American end of it. I can't really speak to the Latina end of it or the Asian end of it. I could
Right.
also speak from the Native American end of it because there's also deep rooted um, traumas and wounds and conditioning that needs to be worked through from there as well.
Mhm.
So just being understanding of how you of those things and deliver the information and deliver the wisdom with that compassion and empathy and understanding as well.
Mhm.
So that's where I'm trying, I'm like receiving more information, receiving more downloads, and like how to move and help mamas of color to really um bring out their magic and own their magic and deliver this in parenting their children in this way as well.
Yes, Latoya. Yes, it just gives me like full body chills because we're so lucky to have you, and you're so brave to be doing this work. And as hard as it is, and as much you feel like things are against you and how scary it may feel, you're still doing the work. You're still showing up for not just yourself, but for everyone. And the impacts that you're making in lifting all of these women of color up is just, it's huge, Latoya. It's massive. And I
Mm-hmm.
can just feel your passion and the experiences that you felt. It's very emotional, it's very emotionally charged, it's heavy, and doing that work is heavy work. But when you begin to move through it, look at how much wisdom you have accessed, and look at what you get to do for other women. You get to give them permission to do the same and follow in your
Mm-hmm.
footsteps, and that is power, and that is
Yes.
magic.
And that right there is just because it is hard to move through this, and it's hard to navigate and share, right? Share because a lot of the information is just like, I know for a fact that there's other souls out there that are receiving this information, other mothers out there receiving the information. Our children have this information and they're sharing it, right? But it's hard to, just to put it out there. But knowing that just sharing this information in whether it resonates or not, just the act of sharing it is what's needed, that message, and that though the message also activates other moms and other fathers and other children, and it becomes a ripple effect. My whole goal here, and what I'm moving into more is just being able to be seen, right? I'm working on that. It's very hard for me to, it's becoming easier, but it's hard for me to do that, right? To just share the message and to be seen. So thank you for seeing me, and helping with delivering these messages and this wisdom and understanding and working with women as well. We are moving in, again, we're moving in the direction of more and more women walking this path or moving down this path. But what I also noticed is that we kind of divert away from the woo-woo end of it, woo-woo terms, not we, but like other people who understand it, but they use more of the mainstream words like mindfulness, or I say mainstream suitable words, right? Like sensitive children. Those are new earth children. But like those words tend to travel the distance, right? Or those terms to travel the distance because it's more accommodating to the mainstream. But again, as we continue to move down this path as a collective, the less that we need to do that, right? To use more of the mainstream terminology, and we could use new earth children, new earth families, little souls, right? And explaining what's happening, and again, bringing that higher conscious understanding down to our level, and understanding and how to move further and shift into the new paradigm.
Definitely. Yes, Latoya. Can you quickly give me a little bit of information about what you're seeing for a new earth family? What does that look like? What is the, what does the setup look like? What are we moving into? What is that shift?
So the new earth family is a family that is soul led. It's soul led from parents, right? Mother, father, children, right? In the household or in the family unit, soul led, but also parenting, parenting their children as mind, body, and soul, right? We have the mind part of it. We have the body part of it, but we also need to understand our children as a soul, right? And bringing that whole mind, body, soul into the holistic parenting of the child, an understanding of them as a child, but also actually understanding as a soul, and moving forward in that understanding, knowing yourself as a soul, and your children as a soul, and the mother and father, or the new earth family, the mother and father are healing They are connecting regularly, connecting to their soul, connecting to Mother Earth, connecting to universe, whatever you want to call your the higher beings that you connect to, connecting to your children's soul, and attuning to all aspects of your children, to their soul, tuning to their frequency, their vibration. And that is what I call the New Earth family, right? And your New Earth family is going to be very different than my New Earth family. But together, our families are working together in creating this new system, this new Earth, this new Earth paradigm, right? It's very community based, very coming together as a village, but we haven't, what I'm seeing, like we're going to be like moving more into the village way of being in the way that we used to be. But what's going to bring that more forward is the way that we are going to be shifting into like the new Earth schools, right? In how they're going to be more community based as well, and communal, in the way of teaching and sharing of the wisdom. So that is what I call the New Earth family. And yeah.
I love that. I love that. And it's, the term New Earth, it can sound so overwhelming, and because it sounds so woo-woo, but it
Mhm.
really is just what we're living through right now. Like
Yes.
everyone is experiencing it. And this shift into the New Earth family, just as you said, you're experiencing it as yourself and with your husband, and you seeing it with your children. And I'm experiencing it myself with my husband and my children, and then also my parents. And I'm watching people around me shifting. And while
Mm-hmm.
we may not all be aware that this is on a soul level, it is on a soul level,
Yeah.
because the amount of the frequency that we're receiving from the new souls that are coming in, from the angels that are at work, from the extraterrestrials, from all of these beautiful cosmic beings that are here working to help support this frequency up leveling on earth, we are living it every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And so we may not have the answers to it, but as long as we can be led by our hearts and we can follow our intuition, we're going to find ourselves in a really beautiful space. And while
Mm-hmm.
right now may feel really hard, just know that we're just walking through the wooded part of the path. Like this is the dark forest right now. At the end of
Mm-hmm.
it, they keep showing me light, and they keep showing this to me in for every mother, for every person on earth right now. We're just walking through the dark part. There is beautiful light at the end of all of this healing work that we're doing on
Mm-hmm.
ourselves.
We I this the crumbling of the systems is very hard to move through.
Mhm.
Um but it's needed,
So
because without those crumblings of these systems and pointing out of things that need to be changed, and the shifts that need to be made as a collective, we will not be able to shift to the 4D, 5D way of living, right? We would be stuck in the 3D and the lower vibrational way of living. Um, it's very needed for the trajectory of our shifts.
I keep seeing it too as if we were all comfortable. It's really funny because human nature, when we're comfortable, we just tend to stay in one place.
Mm-hmm.
And it's this discomfort that has to happen to push us to the next level. So if you're
Mm-hmm.
feeling uncomfortable, you're doing it right. And you're experiencing this shift into the new earth too.
Yes. 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 And if you like, again, for the moms and for the fathers, like if you find that your parenting is you know is hitting some bumps, and you're finding different areas within your family system that need to change, like that's how you, like, those are your like insights of like where you need to begin, right? Those are your breadcrumbs of like this, like, take this little breadcrumb and then this little breadcrumb and then this breadcrumb, and it's leading you towards where your family is creating that new earth family for your family. So like these triggers, these insights, like that's all leading you to where you need to be. So just follow that and be courageous in following that.
So
And
good,
be
Latoya.
and give yourself grace for those days where you might not want to be courageous enough and follow that, because there's times where I find myself like, my goal is, one of the things that I work on with my family, or in my new, like in my family, is working on how we view anger and how we work with anger and how we
Mhm.
express anger. Are there
Mhm.
times that I yell at my children? Yes. Are there times that my children say unkind things to each other? Yes. We're still very normal with it. But what comes to the way that you just start, when the work that you do, you'll start to notice that, let's just say, maybe the 10th time I told my son to clean his bedroom, I didn't get so triggered on the 11th time that I told him, right? That is working. We're layering our wisdom and our understanding in our growth, right? And that 11th time that I told him, I still said it in a calm tone rather than screaming and yelling. That is growth, right?
Uh,
And what is growth for me may not be growth for others. So just take those incremental steps, and we don't have to like think like it has to be immediate like change. It took you how many years to get to where you are. It's going
mhm.
to take time for you to peel back those conditions and limiting beliefs and programming. Um, so give yourself grace as well.
Mm, I love that, Latoya. Such a good message. Well,
Mm-hmm.
thank you so much for coming here and sharing all of your wisdom. And because it's so needed and it's so important and it's wildly helpful for all of us because we're all in this together and doing it.
Yes.
So if you could share with
Thank
us where we
you.
can find you and how we can work with you.
So you could find me at latoyadoesreadings.com. Um, you, I'm not going to be on Instagram as much because those are the shifts that I'm seeing in myself,
Mm,
and within my business. So if you are looking to work with me, I would highly suggest that you go to my website and get on my email list, because that's where I'm going to be having all of my communication with my community and workshops, and you'll learn more about magical mama tips and programs and so on. I am on a pause when it comes to my Mommy and Me readings because
mhm.
I am in a creative stage. So I'm creating some things that need to be birthed. Um, but you'll be able to find out more of what I'm creating through my newsletter. So that's
I
where you can
love
find
that.
me.
Mm. So many good things are being created, Latoya. I'm really, really excited for all of that to come
Thank
out into the world.
you.
Doing such good work.
Yes.
Thank you
You
so much for joining
too.
me.
Thank you.
Thank you, Latoya. Well, I'm
Have a
sending you
good
all the
day.
love, and I hope everyone enjoys this. And I look forward to the next time we get to connect, Latoya.
Yes.
Good night.
Bye. Good night.